The longer that I own this 2018 Ducati SuperSport S, the more of the basic maintenance I'm doing myself. Now, Bo, as I call him, has done 46,000 kilometres, but this is the first time that I have adjusted the chain tension. Usually I wait for the annual service to do that kind of thing, but I really think that is too long to wait. And this chain has 4,000 kilometres on it, but Bo's not due for another service for another 7 months. Now, just in case you're curious, the chain that he has at the moment is a DID gold X-ring chain. I think the part number is 520ZVMX. The gold is just for a bit of bling. Now, let me walk you through how I'm going to do this chain tensioning exercise. And even though I've checked and triple checked the details in the owner's manual, but also in the workshop manual for this bike, please do your own fact checking if you're going to try it for yourself, just to be on the safe side. So what we need to adjust the chain tension on this bike are only a few things. Firstly, some way to actually measure the chain slack. Now, I made this little thing out of a piece of aluminium and I put a little note to tell me that the swing arm end is at the top here. And I also put a line with just like a Sharpie, which the line is 2 mils wide pretty much. So I know that the top of the line is 35 mil away from the top of the little gauge, and the bottom of the line is 37 mil. And that 35 to 37 mil is the tolerance for the amount of slack in the chain. That took me all of 10 minutes to make. And it just makes it so much easier to measure the chain slack than getting a ruler under there, because there's not really a lot of space. Okay, so that's tool number one. If you've just got a tape measure, that's going to be fine. Tool number two is a T60 Torx bit. That's going to undo the hub screw that loosens the eccentric hub so that we can rotate it and adjust the chain tension that way. Obviously, it's going to need a ratchet, and I've got a little extension on that just to make it easier to get behind the sprocket. There is a specific sized C-spanner that we need to rotate the eccentric hub, and this one I got from a place here in Australia. I've got the link down in the description, but you need a specific size for the SuperSport's hub, and I don't know what size to tell you that this is, but if I measure a couple of bits for you, that might just help you figure out if you've got one already. So from kind of the little corner there that grabs inside the hub through to probably the bottom or the pivot point there, that seems to me to be 111 millimeters, close enough, maybe 112 mil. But how to actually measure the size of these, I don't know, but it's not too hard to find that chain tensioning tool or C-spanner for a Ducati SuperSport. Also going to need a torque wrench to tighten up that hub screw. The torque on that is 40 Newton meters. Now, because my torque wrench is a 3/8 drive, I need an adapter to take it from 3/8 to the 1/2 inch, which is what my Torx bit needs. So that's it for tools. The first step is to kind of get the upper section of the chain as tight as possible, and the best way I've found to do that is just put the bike into first gear and sort of roll it backwards until it stops. This whole exercise is done with the bike on its side stand. Now the location to measure the chain slack is a little bit hard to figure out, but the swing arm it comes down quite straight, and then it starts to kink up a little bit before it goes back. And the place to measure the chain slack is just along this flat section in front of where it starts to kink up a little. And be careful, because you've got the swing arm made of alloy, but then you've got the plastic chain runner or guard or whatever it is underneath. You're not measuring against that, you're measuring against the aluminium of the swing arm. Now there was once a sticker on my swing arm. There's still a bit of glue there. I took it off recently because the edges of it were just curling up too much and it just looked crappy. But the information on that sticker about how to measure chain tension is also in the owner's manual, so not too hard to find that info. So with the more tension on the upper section of the chain, you kind of put a finger on the chain's bottom section just underneath that measurement point and just kind of push down and then just let it go. And now it's in a position where you can measure the slack. So I put my little measurement tool straight up against the alloy of the swing arm, and as I look at it, what I'm comparing is the center line through the chain pins with that black Sharpie mark on my measurement tool. And the idea is that the center of those chain pins should run right through and line up with with that line. But as far as my eye can see, that doesn't happen. That center line of the pins is just below the 37mm mark or the bottom of my Sharpie line. I'm not sure if you can see it quite as clearly as I can, just trust me. Oh, and if you don't use millimetres in your country, there is also the inches measurement in the owner's manual, but it's 1.38 and 1.46 inches. That is the tolerance for your chain slack. I reckon mine's probably at about 38 or 39 mil. So I'm going to tighten it. So the eccentric hub screw is this thing down here, and it needs a Torx bit, that T60. So I'm going to just loosen that off a little bit. You're in my way. There you go. It actually comes loose fairly quickly. Loosen it off, don't take it out, because apparently, according to the workshop manual, if you take it out, you have to re-lubricate it, the thread and the underhead, and that requires molybdenum disulfide grease, which is high mechanical stress and high temperature resistant grease. So now that that's loose, we can get in behind the sprocket, and you can see this kind of big nut, I guess it is, on the eccentric hub, and we're turning that. Now looking at it from the chain side, we are going clockwise to tighten the chain. Now this is confusing because in the workshop manual it says the opposite thing. It says to go clockwise to loosen the chain and anti-clockwise to tighten it, but that's clearly not what's happening. The workshop manual that I have is actually for the 950. This is a 939, so I don't know if there's some reason why it'd be different. I can't imagine why it would be different, but just double check it. You can see what's happening anyway. You can see the chain tightening as I'm pushing this down clockwise. So I'll just take another measurement. I've gone way too far, so it's going back. And that's got it. That took a little bit of stuffing around, 3 or 4 attempts, but now I have the chain pins lining up, or the center of them lining up with that 35mm mark on that tool, so I'm pretty happy with that. And now it's just a question of tightening up the hub screw. Now at 40 Newton meters, maybe I don't really need to do this in 2 stages, but it's just a habit. So I'm doing it at 30 Newton meters first, and then I'll go up to 40. Job done. Well, now that I know what I'm doing, I think it's going to take me all of 10 minutes to do this in the future. I don't know how often I'm going to do it. I'll probably check it every 3 months or so. Maybe, well, clearly it needed adjusting after 4,000 kilometres, so maybe every 4,000 or 5,000 kilometres isn't a bad interval to check it. Anyway, I hope that this video has helped you see how easy and quick it is to adjust your chain tension on a Ducati SuperSport. Until next time, happy riding.